So, there was a hope about a year ago, almost to the day actually, that as someone who has been a devout Weeknd fan, who has loved his music, who's connected with it for almost about 10 years, past 10 years actually, potentially this final Weeknd album, this chapter, this era, could hit a mark and resonate with me in a way that as he continues to move past this chapter of the Weeknd, that maybe, just maybe, it can provide this bit of closure for this beautiful experience that has been being a Weeknd fan, right? So last Sunday, June 29th, I got to go to Sofi Stadium and witness the Weeknd's final performance in Sofi Stadium. And of course, there is a lot of history between the Weeknd and Sofi Stadium. But also, in all seriousness, this is, of course, the final time we're going to be seeing the Weeknd in this form performing. This is the farewell tour. So I was definitely coming in with quite a bit of anticipation and excitement and just a little bit of sentimentality of like, wow, this is it, you know, the final farewell tour for the Weeknd. It brings me great joy and a very warm feeling in my heart to say that the Weeknd's final performance at SoFi Stadium was perfect, except for one little thing, which we will get to when we get to it. However, I want to just give a bunch of my thoughts and ramble a little bit. I am a little bit wine drunk at the moment, so your boy might be rambling quite a bit. Who knows what we're going to be talking about? Which brings me to the next point. If I'm not your boy, if you just kind of stumbled across this video, please consider commenting, and subscribing. And I would love the privilege of being your boy. And with that said, let's get right into it. So starting off, gosh, where do we even start? Let's start with just the overall vibe of the night. My gosh, you could just feel this buzz throughout the arena. The anticipation was palpable, and a lot of red suits in the building, a lot of beautiful looking people. Everyone was so enthusiastic. Just talking to people in the line, the people next to me were really cool and very much excited to see both Carti and The Weeknd. You know what, actually that's a great place to start, I guess, is the very first set, which was Playboi Carti. I know EXO probably has their fair share of opinions regarding Playboi Carti being the opening act. And you know, I do appreciate what Playboi Carti brings. Like, musically, he may not be your scene, right? However, what he brings to the show is this sort of punk rock vibe to it, this very disruptive, loud, banging music. And that is such a great energy to kind of contrast with The Weeknd, who definitely has his fair share of songs that fit that vibe. You know, some featuring Playboi Carti himself, very punk. And there are still aspects of that, a lot of rock elements, which we'll get into throughout this concert. However, back to Carti, it was really cool. It was really great seeing Carti again. I'd seen him, back in college, back when he was still starting off with Magnolia. I don't think his album had even come out yet, his self-titled album. So it was really great to see him now performing in a stadium show and people getting hype off of, like, imagine you go to a concert, you're expecting a great night, and then all of a sudden Fiend starts playing. Like, come on now, how do you not get hype off of that? Granted, if you're a wrestling fan, maybe you are a little sick of hearing Travis Scott, but it set my mind right and sort of took me out of whatever I was going through at the time. And I've been going through a lot, not gonna lie, and just allowed me to start being present in the moment. So I fuck with Carti pretty heavy. You know, let's talk about the stage design, because I did go to the first leg of the After Hours Till Dawn tour. I got to see it in Santa Clara. Definitely feels like an evolution, this current leg. This definitely feels like an evolution of that. However, I don't think people really go into why and sort of like the deeper symbolism. I think they just see like, oh, it's bigger and it's grander, which is true and very valid. However, I do feel like there's like a little bit more to it. Like, for example, it's not just like a straight stage anymore, or a runway, I guess. It's a runway, but then it cuts off and then it becomes a cross. And I feel like that kind of delves into something I've talked about in the past. There is a bit of a religious symbolism that has been prevalent throughout this entire After Hours trilogy, a couple going even back to Starboy, you know, with the cross in the Starboy music video. Hey, so I'm recording this segment a little bit later because in the thoroughness of my consumption of rosé wine, I totally forgot to actually explain the examples of the symbolism, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So as I was saying, the stage had evolved from this single runway to a cross, which in the Bible signifies redemption, death, and rebirth, all of which are really relevant to the story that the Weeknd has been telling, and especially this specific chapter. But expanding even further than just the symbolism described in the Bible, the cross has always symbolized duality, or the intersection between light and dark, blue and red, good and evil. Additionally, throughout the stage are arches that he walks through in order to get closer to the crowd, which in many cultures signifies a transitional period or sometimes a moment of finality or victory. This brings me to that sexy chrome Sorayama statue, which was previously featured on artwork for his 2011 mixtape Echoes of Silence and designed by renowned illustrator Hajime Sorayama. You know how churches will often feature statues of the patron saint that it's named after? I have personally always thought of the Sorayama statue as sort of the monument for what the Weeknd spirituality is comprised of, for the things that he places his faith in. Instead of portraying a figure belonging to any sort of religion, he creates his own, symbolizing his admiration for divine femininity, beauty, the future, desire, and most importantly, art and artists like Sorayama, which he's repeatedly said a lot of the time about how art has saved him, whether it be music or film. I'll also discuss this a little later in the video, but his wardrobe, this stylized rendition of the Ethiopian robe called a kaba, is one that not only calls back to the wardrobe of a Catholic priest, but also pays homage to his culture in a really cool, original way. And as you can see, there's a bit of a recurring theme here that by using religious symbolism that we've seen before, that we're somewhat familiar with, to communicate a sense of faith, of spirituality, the Weeknd gives this ethereal vibe to the entire show that truly feels operatic, sacred, artistic, and man, it is really cool to see live. You know, at this point, we're witnessing the Weeknd that has gone through the journey and, you know, has kind of fully completed his arc. So now we see him fully enveloped in this like grace and this concert. And we'll get to the set list in a second, but the set list kind of lends itself to the idea of a journey. In the After Hours Till Dawn, the first leg of the US tour, he was kind of closed off a little bit. Like, yes, he walked down the aisle and he would sing to us. However, it wasn't until you get to leg 2 in Europe, and also now that you kind of see him starting to walk amongst us. And I think that was a very intentional choice of like, now he's not this Weeknd character who's shelved off, who wears this mask, which is imagery we've seen throughout this entire tour. But now he's welcoming us in and wanting that connection with us, which is really cool. And I will say the lady that got to sing Out of Time with the Weeknd, my God, I mean, please leave a comment if you were ever that person and how that must have felt. I've seen some quite, not embarrassing, just some very passionate singing, we'll say. But this lady got to like get serenaded and sang Out of Time to by Abel, and that's just that must be an experience. I will say I have been practicing in the shower. You know, if Abel ever comes up to me and is like, all right, sing Out of Time, I'm like, all right, you know, karaoke has trained me up to this point, let's do it. But of course there is the Sorayama statue standing right in the middle, and then also these beautiful screen designs, I don't know what you'd call them, wallpapers I almost want to say, that would, you know, kind of correlate to the song, like, oh, the hills is burning down, for like the Dawn FM songs there would be like a light. And one particular bit that really struck out to me was on Without a Warning, that I've always described that song as like the Weeknd marching towards his fate and being accepting of it, I guess I should say, or more accurately. And it was just a really cool imagery. He's walking down this aisle, you see heaven's gates opening up, or they're open and they're slowly closing, and you're wondering if the Weeknd's gonna make it, which is, you know, the whole bit of this whole entire After Hours trilogy. That's the premise, is the Weeknd deserving of this sort of positive outcome or final fate, I guess you could say. The pyro was fuming, was hot. That shit was hot, especially, you know, it very much fit the vibe for Sao Paulo, Cry For Me. That little segment right there, that was just so beautiful and intense, and really made you feel like you were in this sort of visceral experience that you're in, you know, for lack of a better term, hell, or also like in a Blade movie. So yeah, the stage design was amazing. Every part of the crew should be applauded for everything they did there. A beautiful effort. But I do want to get to the set list, which I know people have had their qualms with. However, I do want to discuss it as I pull it up here. Now, the two main things I've seen is how the set list has changed quite a bit from the first show to the last, or the show that I went to. And the two main things were Hurry Up Tomorrow and In Heaven, which is a song that wasn't on the final track list of the album. And you know what? I actually don't mind. I don't know if this is making you click off the video, but I don't mind not hearing those songs because, you know, In Heaven, my friend was telling me about how that song was the bit where he's walking down the aisle. However, I do prefer Without a Warning being that song for that moment because it does feel like it has a bit more edge to it, not Adam Copeland. It's also just, I don't know, it's just a little more energizing. And then with Hurry Up Tomorrow, again, this is a personal thing. Your opinion is very valid. I've kind of heard enough of that song through the movie, which I enjoyed. Please check out my review and discussion. I give it a fair shake. Like, I promise, I'm not just hating on it. However, there was a scene, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, where he's in bed and his life's in danger and he decides to go full theater kid on us. That scene has given me enough experience with that song that I'm like, okay, I prefer where we're at. However, and here's the part where I get to that one thing that held back June 29th, Night Fort, Sofi, After Hours Till Dawn, that held it back from being the most perfect thing in the world. And that is, it's your last show in Los Angeles. God damn it. Take me back to LA. So from what I can tell, he has not performed Take Me Back to LA throughout the entire tour. But damn, what a shame. It would have been really a great moment. Take Me Back to LA. It's the final show in LA. However, it's not too much of a qualm in general with setlist complaints. I've seen a lot of them on EXO Twitter. What I'll say is that, look, we can all come up with our personal set lists for songs that we feel like we would like to hear. Like, God damn it, I would love to hear Don't Break My Heart. Take Me Back to LA and some of the more early trilogy cuts. My God, when the first time we were watching After Hours Till Dawn, the first leg, I was praying we'd get like a little Wanderlust bit, you know? But no dice, and that's okay, because I think what people fail to recognize with The Weeknd is, yes, there's going to be songs on there that are just there because they're the most popular songs. I guess more accurately, that they're crowd pleasers, that, you know, they play really well, especially in a stadium setting. You want that energy in a crowd. However, these are songs and the sequences are all laid out because there's some sort of story or significance, or just like the like I mentioned before, like this is like the section of the show we're in where we need to start off with some party bangers, right? And then we get into the more sentimental stuff, the more emotional, I call it the I Hate Myself set. So, you know, let's dive right into it. Let's take a little bit more of a deep dive here, because we start off with The Abyss. My God, like that song, I've literally broken down in tears because of that record, into Wake Me Up. And it was a cool transition into, and I cannot stress this enough, at the first performance at Sao Paulo, this was like the moment that I needed to see live, was Wake Me Up into After Hours. My two favorite songs, I think, if you were to ask me, gun to my head, gun to my balls, what are my two favorite songs from the After Hours trilogy? Let's stretch it to three. It would be Wake Me Up, After Hours, and then Lesson Zero. I'd say, yeah, on average, those are probably the three most frequent answers I'd give you. And yeah, that was just such a perfect way to set off the night with records that are talking to you about like love and yearning, but then you get into the central thesis of the show, which is like we are waking up the Weeknd, and we are emerging as Abel. Maybe Abel is emerging as Abel, but we are getting to spectate that journey and through the music, and it's really cool. And then After Hours is just the seminal song of, I think, the Weeknd's entire career, and I've already said my piece about that. You can check out the video that I'll link over here, but to me, After Hours is the definitive Weeknd song. So that trio, ooh. And then you get into the party records. Take My Breath is just the perfect song. Like, I'd kind of taken a bit of a break from listening from just music, actually, as a whole. That lets you know how my mental health was. You just get those moments where you forget how great a song is, and then he would play it live, and it's like, yeah. But anyways, so we come from the party songs, and then we get into Kissland often, which Lost in the Fire, which is kind of like the more sensual stuff. But then the next part is actually where I sort of found myself truly transcending to the next plane, and that was Given Up on Me, which is one of the more powerful, emotionally resonant, deep songs on the album, just of like where he goes with it. To transition that into I Was Never There, and the whole thesis of Given Up on Me is that like he's been lying to us on this journey, and is experiencing this sort of rock bottom moment of self-doubt and gaslighting of himself, and the way that feeds into I Was Never There, which is, as I've continued to sit with that song, I think of it as very much like when you're in that place where you feel like you have no value, you feel like a void, you feel like you were never there. And that feeds into the lyric of, what makes a grown man want to cry, what makes him want to take his life. So those two songs back to back, I felt right away, again, coming from what the last couple months have looked like, very much hit. But also the transition, just without the context of my mental health being not great at the moment, was just such just hit perfectly. And then, my gosh. And then you go from that into The Hills, into Baptized in Fear, which this is a bit I want to talk about a little bit, is the sort of rock elements that were throughout this concert, and that surprised me, and also is something that I would like to see The Weeknd kind of delve into or lean back into, because people forget, because I think we spend a lot of time thinking of him as alternative R&B, or sometimes like taking on more traditional R&B disco records. However, a lot of his music is very alt rock, alt R&B, that hybrid, that middle ground. He has kind of formed that and developed it and made it his own thing. So Baptized in Fear, feeling like this Tears for Fears, beach house, alt rock type vibe. Like it really, this is a total sidebar, but if he were to do some sort of Silk Sonic duo type thing, I would love to see him with Blood Orange, who operates in that similar space. That would just be beautiful. But Baptized in Fear, I think this is my favorite part of the concert musically, was Baptized in Fear. That transition into Open Hearts is crazy, because you're going from a rock build up with the drums and the guitar and all this stuff into a more techno, synthy type song, and that transition, it really takes you on a journey. Real quick, I wanted to mention was that at some point, I forget in which segment of the concert, there was a bit of a pause, and there was a lot of emotion. It was a very emotional night. It was definitely emotional for me, but it was also emotional for him, and that was really great to see. Is like the loudest pop I think I've ever heard from a crowd that I've ever been a part of. Actually, as I record this video, my ears are still not 100% okay. I've been reading lips at work all day. It's really great to see the human behind the Weeknd, the beauty behind the madness, if you will. And that was just it was just really great to see that. But anyways, coming back to the track list. Oh yes, okay. Cry for Me into I Can't Fucking Sing, Sao Paulo, and then Until We're Skin and Bones, building up into the Playboi Carti appearance or reappearance. That part was just so lit and so intense, and you could feel that. And that's where I feel like Playboi Carti's performance and sort of the presence he brings is really well appreciated. Just the sort of, it really gears you back up and energizes you after going through this moment of self-reflection and all this stuff, to where now you're like, man, fuck it, I'm timeless, man. Oh, dude, we're having a good time. Yo, not gonna lie, when Lana Del Rey's voice came up for Stargirl interlude, I was ready to pop heavy for a Lana Del Rey appearance, where it's like a surprise appearance where she comes up and they sing Stargirl interlude, Prisoners, The Abyss, to bring back The Abyss. Yeah, man, I was so ready for it, but it was just audio, and I guess it was just, time for the Weeknd to hit the backstage area and drink some water, take a breath, which is cool. I don't mind it. I love that song, so I'm here for it. I was singing that shit at the top of my lungs. And then you get into the feel good shit, which those records are some of my favorite. Out of Time, I Feel It Coming, Die For You. Actually, okay, changing my top 3, it would be Wake Me Up, After Hours, and then Out of Time. I love Less Than Zero, but I think that's my final 3 from this After Hours trilogy. Please Don't Shoot Me. And then you get through the rest of these really great records. Wicked Games, Wicked Games hit very differently. Just knowing that this was the debut single, not the first song off of House of Balloons, but the debut single, being Wicked Games, and hearing that at the end of this journey, very resonant. And then you get the bit that I was talking about before, where Without a Warning, where you literally get to see, him walk across the stage. Before it was a bit of a procession, and we do get that. And you feel like this is like the final end for the show, and you're like, oh, like that's how the first leg of After Hours Till Dawn, how it ended, was kind of a note where you of course we end off on Blinding Lights, and you get this beautiful procession with these synths and very ambient tones, and it feels like church a little bit. It feels like the end of a mass. But then he's like, man, fuck all this noise. We're not going home yet. And we get some feel good records. We get some throwbacks. We get The Morning. We get House of Balloons. I don't believe he performed that during the first leg. And House of Balloons is one of my favorite songs from him, period. How I put it is that the reason why this tour had to continue being After Hours Till Dawn, outside of the capitalist reason of being able to add on these amazing grosses and sold out tour dates to, this ongoing tour. However, cynicism aside, it's also because the tour has evolved, just like the albums, just like the Weeknd has throughout this trilogy. If leg 1 is sort of the After Hours era equivalent, kind of closed off, kind of all black, everything. However, when you get to the international dates, where he has the MF Doom mask and he's rocking the all white and the Sorayama statue is up on stage, that is where you really get to see the evolution. You see a lighter side of the Weeknd. You're seeing him. That's where he starts to introduce being out in the crowd and singing Out of Time with all of them, and it was really cool. And then this is sort of the final evolution. Like, his outfit is so sick. It's probably my favorite. I want to say it's my favorite. It's like that or the G.I. Joe cyborg outfit from, I think, leg 3. But this version was so sick because it's this alien techno. Like, that is what I imagined this After Hours Till Dawn tour to look like, was that futuristic techno thing. But then this Ethiopian Kaaba, which we've seen throughout this era, meant to call back to a lot of his Ethiopian roots, and also give off, for me personally, has given off this sort of religious symbolism, kind of adds to it. But also the fact that it's so sparkly, for lack of a better term, the glittery bits, like it just so reminded me of one of my favorite artists of all time, and his most famous performance at Wembley Stadium, or one of his most famous performances, Luther Vandross. If you've seen the video, and you know what I'm talking about, I'm throwing it up on screen right now. And I just see a lot of comparisons between the two, those two being people that captivate you. They don't need crazy dance moves or cheap gimmicks. Like their artistry, their vision, but also most importantly, front and foremost, their singing is what reels you in, that keeps you on your toes and dancing and singing along. Like to be in a stadium full of people that is so full of love and this wholesome energy. It was just such a great night to be a part of, and very, very healing, I would say, I'm trying not to sound as pretentious as I can, but it was quite healing, and just good energy around it. And all these people were all just sort of crowding around to appreciate this artist who has been there, at least for me, at my lowest, has picked me up some days, but more importantly, has sat with me during the days where I don't feel as good. Those lyrics, those songs, the moods those songs have built, they resonate with me. That's how I describe my relationship with The Weeknd, is I just resonate a lot with his work, and to see it come to an end, at least this chapter for Abel has been quite emotional, and I'm very happy about it. Very happy for him, but also very happy for the fans. I mean, if we can sort of get all our heads out of our asses for a second and not, put down other songs and rank all these songs and say, oh, I don't like this song, I don't like that song. Look at the big picture and see what we've been given. We've been given an amazing album. Let me know, by the way, which album cover y'all fuck with the most. We've also gotten a whole movie that is such a love letter to the fans. We've also gotten this amazing tour and great visuals and coffee. If you've gotten the Samra Origins, it's really cool. But also just like a lot of moments. I think that's what as I was listening throughout the concert, that's what I was thinking of a lot, actually, was when a classic, as Neo says, when a classic is played, you just kind of travel back in time for a little bit. And it was really beautiful. The people next to me, they were just having such a good time, and I could see her like covering her mouth and crying a little bit, and it kind of made me cry. And it was just a beautiful sort of kind of fellowship where we all just got to enjoy, not just these people and I, but everyone around us was just all so present, so in the moment. So for what it's worth, I just want to thank The Weeknd for this incredible journey that we've been going on for the past 2011, so 14 years now, and I've enjoyed every little bit of it. I did take some notes. I before I get too sentimental, I did take some notes. I want to mention a couple things. I guess just kind of starting to bring all the points home, tie it all up in a beautiful little bow. This version of the After Hours Till Dawn tour is the final version of what The Weeknd represents, right? If you think about it, like, this is the final Weeknd album. We've gotten the final Weeknd songs, and now this set list is or not just a set list, but this concert is the definitive representation of what The Weeknd is. It makes me very happy, profoundly happy, to say how much I enjoy it. Big surprise, right? But just how much I enjoy it, and how much all the puzzle pieces from the After Hours trilogy, I'll delve into that in a second. Not just the After Hours trilogy, but just the entire discography kind of has built to create this amazing body of work. I don't know if that makes sense, but just this amazing piece of art that stands alone as The Weeknd's discography. And After Hours trilogy specifically, like, I look at it and I'm like, wow, After Hours was the rock bottom in terms of like what the thematic content was, what it represents. Like, it was rock bottom. It was the music that sat with us while we're lonely. And then Dawn FM was sort of the the timeless music. Like, this is the music to kind of get you up, pick you up a little bit, get you up on the dance floor, also make you reflect and just sort of think quite a bit on like what this whole life thing's about and what this journey is. But also within the context of the concert was like, oh man, I really enjoyed hitting my disco two-step, my Tito two-step for songs like Take My Breath, Sacrifice, Out of Time. Like, those songs, Is There Someone Else, Don FM is always going to have a very special place in my heart. But then you get into Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is crazy to say, you know, considering just how many albums we're deep into. Hurry Up Tomorrow has been some of his deepest, most well-rounded and most refined, especially in the writing department, most refined songs. Like, the way he's able to express like Baptized in Fear, songs like Given Up on Me, and make them like legit records is it's very cool. It's very cool. And I think all those pieces fit together. You could do a whole concert of just After Hours trilogy and it could fit perfectly. But then also you factor in the entire Weeknd discography, and I absolutely adore the last bit where you think Without a Warning is going to end it off, and he's like, no, you know what, let's go into The Morning, let's go into House of Balloons, let's go into, you know, let's end off with Moth to a Flame. It just allowed you to walk away feeling that like catharsis, that sort of emotional satisfaction that, okay, the Weeknd is good, Abel is good, the kids are fine, and man, am I happy. So that has been my thoughts on the Weeknd's final performance at Sofi. Please let me know your thoughts. Let me know how your experience was wherever you saw the Weeknd at. Let me know how you feel about sort of the symbolism and significance I brought up with the stage design, with everything really. Just like, let me know again which cover you like. This motherfucker made me pay for 4 different vinyls for Hurry Up Tomorrow, and only one included the entire track list. Like, all right, Abel, fine, you're lucky. You got your claws dug into me pretty deeply. So no, let me see, is there anything else that I want to say? So yeah, I want to end this video off just by raising a nice little toast of rosé wine to Abel Tesfaye, the Weeknd, and just thank him for a hell of a show, a hell of an album with Hurry Up Tomorrow, but also a hell of a run, like a 11 album run of songs that there are barely any filler, that all hit, that all have different moods, that all tell us their own stories, but all tell a piece of a bigger story, like, and that story being so vital and resonant with this generation of people, but also to create music that brings so many people together. Like, it was so surreal, so trippy to be in a stadium full of people that we're all just crowding around Abel, you know, trying to show it love how we can, you know, and it was just a good time. So as you can see, the rosé is kicking in. I'm getting quite sentimental, but thank you again, Abel. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the show, and thank you for watching. This has been P.O.'s Place. Y'all are welcome back anytime. Please subscribe, and also please check out my podcast, Kayfabe and Show, where we talk about wrestling, which the Weeknd, if you guys don't know, he has been the theme music for the past 6 WrestleManias. So there should be a third W in WWE for the Weeknd, somewhere in there. You can figure out whether it's a first, second, or third W. But also we talk music, film, we flirt with each other, and also we're competing for the Kayfabe and Show title. So we got a lot going on there, but also please subscribe to this channel. I want to try to get more videos up on this channel this summer and just have more discussions with you guys, because I love talking to y'all. But with that said, again, this has been P.O.'s Place. Y'all are welcome back anytime. But until that next time, I hope y'all take care. Peace.